I'm very delighted to welcome especially Hemant Pandya today and his comprehensive exposure, what to say. So let's look at the esteemed profile of Hemant Pandya. So what to speak about, your 18 years of rich experience. Today, I think all of us, the panelists, whoever will be participating in this webinar is definitely going to be enlightened. His rich 18 years of experience being a company secretary and law graduate from the University of Mumbai, fellow member of ICSI. His wide spectrum of corporate secretarial compliance legal functions in a diversified finance portfolio within JM Financial Group. This group we all know as a leading diversified financial services group, which includes primary businesses like investment banking, portfolio management, wealth management, asset management, whatnot. And at the group level, Mr. Hemant Pandya is managing the entire compliance framework. Move forward, Shelley, was I also read about the current role Mr. Hemant Pandya is. Yes, so currently he's serving as the Company Secretary and Compliance Officer of JM Financials Limited, which is the flagship company within the JM Financial Group. And additionally, he's overseeing the compliance sector functions of various subsidiaries, which includes NBFCs and housing finance companies. We also have a glimpse of your creative side. Very noteworthy to see your interests in drawing, sketching, poetry. And I'm sure many of the attendees would recognize you because of your conduct of the ICSI organized programs and trainings amongst the professional fraternity as well. So we welcome you here today. We have Professor Bala. Professor Bala, if I go on for your 4 decades of experience, it will take an hour at least. So we all see your wisdom when we read your articles published in Chartered Secretary. But just to, Foresco India Limited is the concerned organization, and of course we all know you as a regular speaker at ICSI, CEC, GRT as well. And I am Ridul Sharma. I am the partner for Delhi NCR region. It's an absolute honor for me to be a panelist on this webinar today. And the presentation today will be presented by Shelley. Shelley Parekh is also a company secretary and a law graduate. And she is an efficient member of Mehta team, assisting all of us with her research and corporate law practice. So
over to Hemant Pandya, the introduction about the subject and his thoughts on this. And I must also tell you, most of the participants should be knowing Hemant because he was there in our seminar. It is not the first time he is here actually. Earlier, we had conducted a webinar on non-banking financial institutions companies where he was there. His immense contribution and the sharing of the wisdom was very much appreciated. Even our participants earlier also, he is not new. Today also, we will definitely have his wisdom. We will definitely have his personal experiences on this particular subject. Although this has been introduced quite some time back, even today, people are actually struggling to put a structured way of putting the thing. There are various questions, what time it is to be entered, when it is to be entered, what are the various versions, which version is to be entered, whether the person who is actually associated, he has to also get to maintain. All these questions are there. I think over the presentation, when we go along, with the wisdom of our panelists, we will be able to address all these things to the possible extent. Over to Hemant, please.
Thank you for the introduction. I thought the introduction was very long, so thanks, for giving me this opportunity. It's really a pleasure to be here, today to talk about something which is really shaping the compliance, how to share, UPSI. It's a very structured way of law which has come out. Okay, but to be honest, when I was asked about the subject to talk on this topic or to be on the panel of this topic, my first reaction was, no way, why me? I mean, it may be called structured, but you all will agree it is the other way around. It's like though it is structured the way around. If I had to compare this with something, I can compare it with Indian wedding guest list. which is carefully planned, tracked in Excel, shared across multiple family WhatsApp groups. Still, what happens is some unexpected shows up or some important guest are missed. So it's the same thing, UPSI is the same thing. It's very dynamic, unpredictable, tough to manage. You may miss anything. So, but I'm taking this opportunity to learn from you guys, from your experience, and I'm sure we all will have a meaningful insight on this. SDD, though, sir said it was introduced in 2019 by way of an amendment. It still feels, something it is new and evolving, and rightly because business runs fast, but the information, runs faster. So UPSI, it spreads like fast. So how to tackle it's very important. Yes, a lot of challenges here. It will remain, it will continue, but SDD may help us to track, to regulators and even to us, from how it germinated, whom it was shared, where it goes, and everything. It really helps. So SDD is not just a technical compliance tool, but it is really a cultural compliance cultural shift, you can say. It's about being proactive rather than reactive. This is what I would like to add here. And when I was discussing, we had when we were discussing this, we have this in-house SDD tool. So when we were building this, so I was just discussing with my software developer head, and he asked me, Hemant, is this SDD a technology or governance? What is it? So I said it is both. One ensures you don't forget, and other ensures you don't regret. So this is the thing that I would like to start with, and looking forward to the discussion. At last, what I would like to just have a small disclaimer. What I'm saying here is, something of my personal views and not at all related to the organization where I'm working for.
Thanks a
Yes,
lot.
sir.
Thanks a lot to Hemant. You rightly said it. You compared it nicely with the wedding event, actually. Yeah, it happens like that. We try to do our level best. Some corner or something which happens, which creates the problem. Then the question arises, investigation, who, what, when, company, people, all those things comes actually. That is the thing. Although the regulator has been trying to arrest the insider trading quite some time, over a decade, ever after that the law was actually introduced. But in spite of that, there has been unethical practices which have been seen in the market, and there have been cases, there have been left and right. SEBI has been taking the issues, and even heavy penalties have been actually levied. But still, we are struggling with that. Still, these are all things happening. So they came out with something which may further strengthen the thing. That is the whole idea here. As you rightly said, even though it is introduced way back in 2019, even after 6 years, still we are struggling to get the bottom of it, and we are trying to find out where, what questions, etc. That is one. And number two, what happens is here, the responsibility not only cost under the employee company secretary, because employee company secretary is actually supposed to ensure compliances per se under the SEBI regulations, because he is the compliance officer categorically. So the whole responsibility actually arises. But the thing is, when the matter actually comes out for discussion, various issues, event-based things like a merger, amalgamation, etc., strategically, so he is not involved at the introductory session at the very first time. When the matter actually comes up and put forward, formalized, then only it comes. So he has got a lot of responsibility, coordinate with the teams, to have awareness to the people. He has to bring what is the requirement. He has to make the people to understand this system is need to be effective. That is number one. Number two, again, the certifying professional also have been given the responsibility on this, because they have to certify. They have to also take the extra precautions. So as the profession, we both, either employee side or certifying side, we have the greater responsibility. Although in today's participants, everybody may not be from listed company. There will be people from unlisted companies as well. But the thing is, they will also get the opportunity when the company goes listed to comply with it. So with this idea, it is better to know, have the knowledge, understanding, people like expert like you. We will still try to evolve. As you rightly said, the disclaimer, I would also like to say here we are actually trying to evaluate the law, try to interpret law as it is and the circumstances. We are not giving any particular opinion or something like that. It is no way to be construed. This is an opinion delivered or something like that. That should not be. Individual case laws are concerned. They'll have to actually get the opinion from the expert concern is there. That's what I also would like to say. And secondly, I would also request all the participants to please put your questions in the chat box. We'll be taking it periodically, and we will discuss it, and we will try to do our best to discuss the matter thoroughly to our best of understanding. Go ahead on this, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
A very good morning to everyone. Welcome to today's session on structured digital database under SEBI Prohibition of Insider Trading Regulations 2015 Practical Challenges, Solutions, and Best Practices. So first of all, we'll be starting with understanding what SDD actually is, how it functions, and why it matters so much under SEBI Prohibition of Insider Trading Regulation. So, structured digital database is an important concept under SEBI Prohibition of Insider Trading Regulation. It is particularly applicable for entities who are dealing with UPSI, that is, all the listed entities, and intermediaries and fiduciaries who are dealing with the UPSI of a listed company. Further, SDD requires maintaining a record of individuals with whom UPSI has been shared or communicated, whether this person is internal or from external team or somewhere. Basically, it tracks a dissemination of UPSI, and it also prevents with insider trading within the company. It also, SDD has also to be maintained in order to comply with transparency and accountability function in case any violation of insider trading regulation happens, or there is any breach of UPSI within the organization, and when any regulatory action is being taken. In that case, SDD stands as a flowchart of how the UPSI was communicated, to whom the UPSI was communicated. So why SDD is required? First of all, as we discussed, SDD maintains individuals and entities who all have access to UPSI. And the purpose of SDD is to record the flow of sharing UPSI and to monitor who all have access to such information before it is intimated to exchanges or goes into public domain. The requirement for maintaining SDD is mandated under Regulation 3.5 and Regulation 3.6 of SEBI PIT regulation. Like Bala sir said, it was firstly introduced via SEBI PIT Amendment 2018, and it was made effective from April 1, 2019. So now let's understand significance of insider trading. What it functions as. So first of all, it helps in preventing insider trading. It helps with accountability and transparency in case of any violation of insider trading or breach. Second is, it helps with regulatory compliance. It somehow fulfills the whole agenda of putting PIT regulations within the company in place. It also acts as evidence during investigation, as it controls who all had access to UPSI at what time and at what extent. Second is, it is a fiduciary duty of professional to comply with. Besides record keeping, timely updates, accessibility, and above all, for data security. Next is meaning and purpose of insider trading. So, structured digital database refers to an internally maintained, secure, non-tamperable electronic record mandated under Regulation 3.5 of SEBI PIT regulation. The objective is to maintain a time-stamped and auditable record of all instances where UPSI was communicated or shared, whether internally within the organization or externally with intermediaries, fiduciaries, consultants, or any other purpose for any legitimate purpose. So SDD is not a procedural formality. It is moreover a substantive compliance requirement, forming an essential component of the insider trading compliance ecosystem.
So wait, Shelly, so let's pause on this slide because I see major features, the major requirement which an SDD is supposed to possess in terms of PIT regulations are covered within these Regulation 3.5 all of these. So you have very nicely covered all of that in one slide. So these aspects like internally maintained, secure, non-temporal, electronic record, then time-stamped, chronological, auditable record. So maintaining audit trail. These are the basic parameters that any technology bound, any software that you create for as being to constitute as a structured digital database under the regulations should possess. These are those. Now I don't know if anybody wants to raise any questions here, but we still receive certain queries here. What constitutes, for example, an internally maintained software? Can we not purchase from an external vendor? And Hemant, maybe you just mentioned that even you at JM Financials, you have your own in-house. You have, created your own. Many organizations, they have created. Some organizations, they have purchased from third-party vendors. So what are the limitations or conditions there? All of that needs to be checked and has to be in compliance with the PIT regulations. Secure, again, secure. What is secure? How do you ensure that internal control mechanisms are in place? Those efficacies are in place. These are some critical aspects when we understand what is SD.
So
I agree. What you said is correct, Mridul. It's very important, because even if you're maintaining SDD and if all these features are not there, even one of the features are not there, you are not complying. So Act has made it very clear that it should be non-temperable, it should be there should be audit trail, there should be it should be maintained in chronological order. So everything that is required, we have to ensure it is done, even if it is in-house or if we have purchased a software from outside. If you are not able to do it, then I'm very sure you are not complying with the provision.
correct. So let's now
Yes, Shani.
understand practically what SDD is and what Regulation 3.5 and 3.6 mandates. So it is an internal electronic database maintained securely within the company. It tracks and records what UPSI was shared, at what time it was shared, via which mode it was shared, email, in meeting, or over a phone call, who shared the UPSI, with whom the UPSI was shared, along with PAN or any other legal identifier in case PAN is not available. Next is why structured digital database is needed under SEBI PIT regulation. So for this, we have to refer Regulation 3.1 and 3.2 of PIT regulation. Regulation 3.1 of the PIT regulation prohibits any insider from communicating, providing, or allowing access to UPSI unless such communication is in furtherance of a legitimate purpose or for the performance of duties or to discharge any legal obligations. And Regulation 3.2 permits procuring or communicating of UPSI with another person except any in furtherance of legitimate purpose, performance of duties, or discharge of legal obligations. With this, since Regulation 3.1 and 3.2 allows communication of UPSI to fulfill any duty or perform any legal obligations. In that case, a lot of UPSI is being communicated. For that, each instance of UPSI communication under Regulation 3.1 and 3.2 carries a potential risk of insider trading, since the person who is in receipt of UPSI can anyway do some insider trading. Therefore, in order to demonstrate that such sharing was lawful and in compliance with the regulations, it was essential to maintain a verifiable audit trail that records each occurrence of UPSI being communicated or shared within the organization or externally. Next is why is maintaining structured digital database is a regulatory must. First is SEBI requires companies to track the flow of sensitive information UPSI to comply with Regulation 3.5 and 3.6 of PIT regulation, to prevent insider trading and trace who access sensitive information in case anything goes wrong or if there is a breach or violation, and to protect company directors, officers, and compliance team from penalties in case of possible insider trading. Next is role of structured digital database under Regulation 3.5. So Regulation 3.5 requires every listed company and relevant intermediary and fiduciary to maintain SDD. This database must record every instance of UPSI sharing or communicated, whether internal or external, that is authorized under Regulation 3.1 or 3.2. The SDD must capture specific details such as nature of UPSI name and PAN or other law authorized identifier in case PAN is not available of the sender and recipient of UPSI, along with date and time of sharing and mode of communication and the purpose for which the UPSI was communicated. This ensures that any communication of UPSI deemed legitimate is supported by a tamper-proof entry in the database. This database must be maintained internally with adequate records such as timestamping and audit trails, and it cannot be outsourced. Next is the board of directors or head of organizations are mandated to ensure that maintenance of structured digital database is like that is captures nature of UPSI, name of persons who share the UPSI, time and mode, and PAN, and it shall be maintained internally, not outsourced, equipped with internal control like timestamping, non-tampering, and audit trail. Prevention and obligation under regulation.
Wait, Shelley, just go back. So here again, let's discuss a bit here. The responsibility of the board of directors or heads of organizations. So as we understand that the responsibility to maintain SDD has been cast upon the board of directors. Heads also are analogous to the board of directors of the company. What does it mean? What is the responsibility of the compliance officer in this case? Right? Is it only the board of directors? What about managing directors, CEOs? So you have to read certain other regulations together along with Regulation 3.5. And it's better to look at the overall responsibility which has been earmarked under these regulations. So while I would say for the board of directors, at the board level, what is imperative is to ensure that yes, within my organization being a listed entity, I am supposed to maintain an SDD. Fine. Now that is the board's responsibility. It is the prerogative of the board to maybe assign this responsibility to its compliance officer. Okay. One aspect is that. Second responsibility is to ensure that the operating efficacy of the SDD is in place. The internal controls are in place. That responsibility is a separate responsibility. Then comes the role of the audit committee to maintain a periodic oversight. It is annual, I suppose. Yeah. So to maintain an oversight over the operating efficacy and the internal controls. And finally, the duty of the compliance officer is again separate. Over and above all these, what I just mentioned, the compliance officer's role is here to ensure that the SDD is fully compliant with whatever is mentioned under the PIT regulations. You know, we just saw all those features and audit trail and time stamping, and the entries, the continuous flow of exchange of UPSI. So that continuity, whether it is compliant, all entries are in place. This is the responsibility of the compliance officer, and hence finally when the compliance certificate is furnished, that has to be signed and certified by the compliance officer. So that's how we should understand the overall responsibility.
Hemant, your thoughts on this?
Just want to add, sir, here 2-3 things. When we say about SDD for an organization, okay, I believe board of directors and head of organizations are mandated to ensure that there is a proper SDD maintained, but it's a collective effort, sir. It's not only duty of the compliance officer or only duty of managing director. See, what happens is, as a compliance officer, there are chances that I would be the last person to know so many things. Correct. It would be the UPSI would be germinated by the what we say, the the planners, who plans that, what needs to be done. There will be so many things, which would be decided by the CFO or, the COO or CEO. They would be deciding, they would be doing this. There would be business team who would be acquiring something. So there are a lot of things which would be going on. Okay. So now to share even with the compliance officer, it would be like, it's not needed right now. When I say, there are two ways to look into when there is a information. So what we do is, when there is a confidential information, you only share on need to know basis. So right now, when things are going on, it's very preliminary. So at that preliminary time, he may not be sharing with the compliance officer. He may not be sharing with everyone. It would be just a small discussion that he would have started. So from that point, that information has been germinated. So my view is, it starts from that point. It is the duty of the person who's starting that initiation. He should be aware that, this is the point where I may require to need to put an entry in SDD, because I am now sharing something which is very price sensitive, and which may be this which may if I don't enter, which may lead to a non-compliance. So it's a collective effort, sir. And as a compliance officer, the duty of compliance officer, I believe, is to train the people. I mean, SDD maintenance is very important, but training is also the most important essential part of the compliance officer, to ensure that everyone is aware about the role of SDD, why it is important, why SEBI will take on a very harsh way if we are not entered it properly. So that is my view, sir.
You said it absolutely correct. Because, any organization, whenever people are recruited, the very first place identifying whether he is an insider or not, that is actually to be communicated to the compliance officer, who's over the organizational setup is there, either board of director, managing director, HR position, etc. Nothing. That is one thing which normally happens in any company. And once it is communicated, then he actually sits with the compliance officer. He understands what is the insider trading, what is the requirement, etc. and all those things. This is one part. So that the insider automatically identified, and the awareness is to be created, as you rightly said, awareness training, what is required, what is do's, what is don't, what is the thing. Normally, a document is also generated by the company as an insider trading code, which is actually given to the person. He has to go through, he has to understand, he has to give an undertaking. Yes, I received the insider trading code. I understood what is the requirement, that he has to give it back, and he has to also say a condition that I will abide by that. That is number one. Number two is, as per the other parties, outsiders, who are actually getting connected in a particular event. For example, merger and amalgamation. You will be involving consultant, you will be involving merchant banker, you will be involving other people, etc. They are not the insider in the company, but they become insider for the purpose of this in that particular event. In such a case also, as you rightly say, it is the responsibility of the company secretary to see that awareness created and responsibility is made known, and it is definitely a collective effort. That is definitely there. Because in any case, company secretary is actually named as a compliance officer under the SEBI regulations categorically. Because you see, although the overall responsibility and accountability remains with the board of directors, but bringing the awareness, doing the things, etc., with everybody who's connected with that has to be inculcated by the company secretary. That is what I would actually say. Yeah.
So next is prevention and obligation under Regulation 6. So Regulation 36 further mandates that entries in the SDD must be preserved for a period of at least 8 years after the completion of the relevant transaction or after the date of entry. If SEBI initiates any investigation or enforcement proceedings, the SDD entries must be retained until the completion of such proceedings, even if this exceeds the 8-year period. This long-term retention requirement ensures that companies are always able to reconstruct the history of UPSI communication and demonstrate compliance with the insider trading. Next is a simple flow. Yes.
Saw one question which is very interesting. It says, can an instance or example be discussed from origin till final occurrence of that event? So I would like to just brief on this. Suppose we take an example of unaudited financial results to take an example, because it's a common thing that that would be with all the organization. So the controllers team makes the first draft. It will be shared with the auditors, with the CFO first. So when the ideal way it should be like, person making it is the germinator. He discusses with the CFO. Now his name should be entered. Auditors are involved. Auditors' name should be entered. Whoever's are involved in this, they should be entering the name, okay, in the SDD, and ensuring that everything is properly captured. That when it is entered, when it was given to him, the mode of, we also enter the mode of giving it by email or by hard copy, or how it was communicated, because that's also very important. And then it goes to the internal department. We track that also. Now when it comes to the auditors, now we are on the auditors. There was one more question whether CA is required to be maintaining a SDD. I saw some question earlier also. So yes, as a fiduciary, you as a chartered accountant firm or the audit firm will also require to maintain SDD, because now they are the recipient of that information. They should ensure that they have entered that in their SDD, where they are capturing that they received this information for this purpose, and this were the people whom he has forwarded it to. So that is how SEBI wants to know. SEBI, what is the intent of SEBI? It wants to know the proper flow of information, so that they can track that how this information was given, whom this information was given, and for what purpose it was given, so that whether there was any inside trading, and also it becomes very easy. That's the reason it is been given. Now CFO audit is done. Now it comes to the compliance, because now it will come to the compliance for sharing it to the. It would be like the unaudited financial results, or maybe any other information related to it, and then we'll make the entry. And when we share it with the directors, we'll be making those entries that this is how we are going to share with the directors. We have shared it with the directors at this time, at this place, through email or through board pack or any other way, and that is how we close it. So this is the small example which I gave from flow of information from the controllers team to the directors, including the auditors. So if you want to add something in between, if I missed out.
No, absolutely, you said it correct. Absolutely, you said correctly, actually, because what happens is in the organization, we generally deal with the senior person of the auditing firm. Okay, when you deal with the partner, either the signing partner or the senior person who's actually looking after the audit, we share with him. Once it is shared with him, then he puts the people below him in this organization further. The further sharing takes place actually. Now the SEBI, as you rightly said it, with whom he shared in his organization, that become very important for that. So from that purpose, he has to also create a SDD database, and he has to also maintain, he has to also make the entry with whom he is actually shared. That is the way it actually works actually. You rightly said. Yes, Mridul, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, so Hemant has given a very nice example about how during the flow of exchange of information, that I see a couple of questions, and otherwise also outside this webinar, we receive a couple of queries regarding this matter only, that what is the right stage of entering in the SDD. So let's discuss a bit here. It will cover 3-4 questions altogether. That yes, one very important aspect here is the concreteness and the stage which leads to finality of the decision being taken. You take any example, whether it's an M&A activity, for example, or a company which is continuously eyeing for business acquisitions, right? But until the stage comes when a concrete decision has been taken that this is the particular entity that as the management or the company has decided to acquire, before that, all prior options being considered, whether to take forward or not, those are all whimsy. I mean, that is not a concrete stage. So that is one important aspect. Once you have finalized the decision, that is the first stage of making entry, because the information regarding the chosen or the targeted potential acquisition has still not been published, but it has the potential to materially impact the price of your securities if becoming known. If someone trades based on that information. So the moment this stage arises, and within the company, as many people, of course, it will constitute the group of your insiders only, be it starting with the top level directors, the executive directors, and then down the CFO level, the legal head, the company secretary, and then the finance head. So as in how the flow goes on within the organization, at each step you make a corresponding entry in the SGD. Now, the mode of sharing the information could be emails, could be phone calls. Yeah, so you make the entries, and then comes your external intermediaries. So if you start engaging a consultant, a law firm, who are external parties, they are your fiduciaries, the consultants. So here again, you make an entry, you enter into NDAs with them, and in turn, those fiduciaries ensure they make corresponding entries in their SGD. So I think Shelly has covered all of that in our slides ahead as well. This is about the flow.
Let us look at some. Let us look at. Yeah. Yes, please go ahead.
So you continue, sir. I'll say later on, please. Sorry.
No. I just thought we may take some of the questions which are there related on this only. That is why.
Yeah.
You finish it up, then we'll see.
Yes, sir. So to understand SDD better, sir, ICICI has come out with a manual on SDD compliance certification. So though it is more applicable to the practicing side, but it is also very useful for the corporate, person who is in employment. It's very well captured. You know what all types of scenarios are covered. For example, when there's a question, at what stage entry of UPSI related to financial results is to be entered in the SDD? So they have given a view that companies follow different practice, but then last May they have said as soon as the UPSI relating to financial results are generated, it should be entered in the SDD. So it has tried to make things very better for the company secretaries. When to do, where to do, how to do. Everything is very well captured here. So if I will request every CS to go through this and understand it's like a Bible for us when it comes to SDD.
Hemant, you said it very well. In the past also, I have been telling in many webinars, our institute has been bringing out a lot of guidance notes on various topics. In fact, I really, it's little unhappy to note many people are not aware actually, really speaking. So here also they have brought out this, as you rightly said, in the note, the guidance note which have been brought out elaborately gives you examples, illustrative things, and it tells you very categorically, it gives a better clarification. I think, in my opinion, all of us must actually go through periodically. We'll have to see the guidance note. We'll have to take advantage of it. That is one thing well said very clearly. That is what I would try to emphasize. Second thing, we'll look at some of the questions. If any company is in the process of listing, then whether STD is to be maintaining by statutory auditor. That is one question they are asking.
In the process of listing, so wait, before statutory auditor, let's look at what is otherwise the mandate. The mandate is that before you file your DRHP, you are supposed to have your SGD in place beforehand. It is a prior requirement, not a post facto one. So your SGD.
No, he is asking that.
No. Yeah. So
Mridul, he is asking a different question. He is asking the question from the statutory auditor point of view.
Yes. So I'm coming.
He says, if any company is in the process of listing, then whether the STD is to be maintained by the statutory auditor.
Sir, I got that. So let's take it step by step. Yeah. The company which is yet not listed, first is as a mandate supposed to have an SDD in place, fully compliant SDD in place. Okay. Now, if your statutory auditor is there, now that particular firm is not only your statutory auditor, it might be statutory auditor at other places as well. Let's presume the statutory auditor as a fiduciary to many other clients is already having an SDD. If not, it is supposed to have an SDD. Okay, so that mandate automatically falls upon the statutory auditor being the consultant fiduciary in that capacity. So yes, the answer is yes.
We receive thousands of emails from the clients. It's a one-time entity for our team members. Is it enough for the first time, or if anyone can clarify? The question is not very clear to me because he says we receive thousands of email from clients. Clients means I don't know how this UPSI is connected with the client. Client may be customer, claim may be supplier, claim may be something I do not know. He says here we receive thousands of email from the clients in one-time entity in our team member. Enough for the first time or anyone can clarify.
So, sir, I believe what he would be trying to say is that there would be some lot of confidential information that he would be receiving from the client, different clients. So, if it is related to different matters, I think different STD is required, and that too, if all the clients are listed entities, if those are not listed, if it's if it's general, you don't have to enter, but if it is listed for a particular transaction where you're advising, when you're receiving information, you would be a fiduciary, or maybe you are a consultant or advisor. So if you are receiving for a particular transaction from different parties also of the transaction, I think you don't have to make so many entries. If the information is different, then you may have to make, but the project may be the same project that you are working on. Okay, so this is what I understood from this question, sir.
Is SDD required to be maintained for the UPSI shared as per the exemption in 3132? That is, sharing the information on a routine basis with other departments.
See, for all these questions, what I would suggest is you need to simply focus on whether the prescribed conditions are met, that whether that information relates to the company or its securities first. Second, is it available publicly? Is it generally available? No. Okay. Thirdly, it has the potential to materially affect the price of your securities. Once these three conditions are met, any information, and as I just explained, if it relates to a concrete, a confirmed decision being taken ahead, whether a board decision has been taken, a consultant has been hired, these are the steps which further accentuate or substantiate the decision-making process within the company. And once the information flow begins, you have to make entries, whether you are receiving 1,000 emails, lakhs of emails. But if these conditions are being met, you have to make entries. Otherwise, then the whole purpose gets failed. What if some insider trading happens in between? How will you, if that this kind of trail is not maintained, how will you check? Someone is asking, is Jane Street episode coming under this law? So I haven't yet looked. Hemant, have you read all these details yet? I'm aware something has happened, and I'm aware that some price manipulations have happened. There is some. It relates to some position being taken in the options and derivatives. I don't think it is specifically the consequence of an UPSI being shared. It's a position taken by Jane Street regarding the options derivatives in that platform, which has manipulated the pricing of securities and has benefited certain individuals. So this is the limited information as of now that I have and I have read. I don't think it is a consequence of an UPSI.
We also have a lot of telephonic and in-person conversation with the accounts team of our client. Do we have to capture those conversations too? If yes, we will not be able to make entry for everything, something are shared or discussed.
We discussed the rationale. Yes, telephonic conversations are. So once your conditions are met, the basic conditions under the regulations are met, you have to make those entries also. The trail has to be completely maintained.
And the compliance officer should be able to justify why he's taken that stand. If you are able to justify, I think there would not be an issue. But to justify SEBI or any other regulator is very difficult. If something is breached, and you try to explain that it was on phone and all, and if it was on recorded line, and you have not made the entry, you will be in a problem. So.
Software of PTA is available in the market. Yeah, many softwares are available. You have to run a check on your own, you have to take a call. How to maintain the STD for the promoters and promoter group individuals identified as DP who are outside India?
This is a nice question. So So yeah, that is not a condition. The condition majorly to be complied, as we just discussed, is that the company is supposed, the listed entity is supposed to have an STD in place. The listed entity is based out of India. However, yes, there might be designated persons who are based out of India. So, see, the entries are being made in your domestically maintained in-house software. It does not matter if even if your designated person is traveling or is based out of India. If the information has been exchanged with that designated person, the entry will be made in your in-house SDD. Even the servers, I think there is a recent clarification by SEBI also. The servers might also be now based out of India. So it's just that flow of information wherever it is going, it has to be captured within your in-house SDD.
So you may not
Can
have
I
PAN
ensure the
of that
example?
entity, but you may require to enter the other legal identification number. But
Yeah.
any person, if you are sharing, it may be outsider, it may be a promoter designated outside India or anywhere. If you're sharing with any person, you will have to make an SDD entry.
Absolutely right. Can I ensure the example discussed from origin to the final that I think you answered, you discussed actually? Flow of the information between the controlling team for the financial FS creation needs to be recorded. Flow of information between the, yeah.
So Ishan,
Yeah.
so I think Ishan, if you could have clarified better, but what I understand here is you're talking about your financial controller team. So when the financial statements are being finalized or prepared, he means to say, so if there is a flow of information within the controllership team. So yes, so these are all Chinese walls basically. So even within the finance team, different finance controllers, heads of departments, unit heads, unit finance controllers, pan India. For example, in a hotel industry, there are finance controllers pan India, and you all are discussing your unit level financials to consolidate the main corporate financials. So yes, why not? So this is also being a flow of information to be covered under STD.
So
Now in
give
the
you an
digital
example.
world,
Just to
yeah.
add on it, if you are sitting, in the same department, same place, let us take a very, very live example. So there can be Mr. X who is preparing it, and now he has done this draft. Now he's want to share it with the team. Now he may, if he's emailing, so I'm just giving my practical view. I may be wrong. There may be, I'm just giving out a practical view. If he's emailing to it to someone, definitely, now he is now sharing the information to someone through an email, and it is a time where practically you should make an entry in SDD. Now suppose you are working on the first draft, and now you have just saved it, and someone else is going to work on the and add his inputs. It's in the same file, and he's working on the same document. You may take a view that I don't require to make a entry right now because the document is not yet complete. We just are making together, and once you share it ahead, to your CFO through an email or something, then it is a time where you'll have to make an entry. So you will have to decide, where what is the right time to make an entry. The idea is, making entry is not the idea. Idea is, to SEBI to know whether the information was flown or not. That is the right test, I believe, to understand where the entry is likely to be made.
Now in the digital world, can we destroy all the documents which are actually in the physical form by converting it to scan copy of the physical document? If these documents are eligible as a legal evidence for SEBI perspective. Scanning the document is not actually digital. Scanning the document is actually, instead of storing it in the physical form, you are actually scanning it, putting it in your computer. That is what why we is. When we say digital database, it is a separate structural way of the database creating with the timestamp, etc., indicating the details. I think that difference we have to actually understand. Because somebody thinks if you are putting the document in the Word form or if you are putting it in the Excel form, if you are storing it in the computer, that is not digital form. Only thing what we are doing is instead of storing a physical copy in the paper, we are actually storing it there. So that difference you have to actually understand. That is one thing. Yeah. Yes, your view, please.
Okay, yeah. So
One more thing,
now,
just to add, whenever you are sharing any information, even within the team, it is better to have it password protected, because these are the you may have made entry, but let us, as a compliance officer, you should set a rule that any UPSI is shared within the team also, it should be password protected.
Is this applicable only to the listed entity for unlisted public companies? Because securities actually define the states who have been meeting. One thing is that I do not go into the detail, it is applicable only to the listed entities. Because unlisted public companies are out of market because it's not there. It is only for the listed entities only, because the SEBI regulation is only the listed entities, not other entities.
So
Yeah,
here,
and so
just want
what
to add
is
one more
the
point.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
Mr. I am
Please,
so sorry.
please,
Yeah.
you may please, yeah.
So only where a
Yeah.
SEBI insider trading regulation has said proposed to be listed includes unlisted entity. So if your organization that the company that you're talking, if that unlisted entity is going to be is proposing its listing, then definitely it applies to it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Before the
And
listing,
one
if they
more
were to say,
thing.
that is always the case. Yeah.
So one more thing.
Yes, Murthu.
That,
Yeah.
so one more thing, because I received queries here that both equity listed and debt listed. That's it. So listed, but both equity and debt listed.
Yeah, it is applicable for both.
Yes.
The person says, to highlight my query, and now here they mention listed entity of the Securities Contract Regulation Act. Further, Supreme Court is actually a judgment July 13 has stated that SCRA would apply to the securities even with the unlisted public company. I appreciate if we can please highlight this query and set on the same. Yeah, Hemant answered very correctly, because it is applicable basically the listed entity. Unlisted companies it is not, but unlisted companies are going to be listed. Then it is actually, that is the thing. Yeah. The officer of the CA also requests to the STD so that the firm can pass on the information to the staff members. Yeah, this is answered actually. Please highlight at what stage do we need to make entries in the STD software. I think we discussed actually. There are possibilities that the information is shared prior to the execution of any NDA as it is necessary understood. Because the moment you identify the UPSI, the moment it is shared, irrespective of any documentation, etc., another thing, it has to be entered actually. That is the thing is said actually. Dealing in the fundraising of the listed entity, how we can actually maintain entry when listed entity approaches the fundraising for merger plan, but their repeated that is respective team itself does not share PAN to us, neither their team asks for the PAN from us. Small information from my side, I am working in the SEBI registered internationally, the merchant banking, so we deal in IPOs.
So Hemant, can you, because yes, this happens practically. What if the client company is not sharing PAN details and not cooperating with the consultants? So what is the alternative, or what is the solution in such cases? Because
So
it amounts to non-compliance.
yeah, so see, I'll tell you, there are chances, there are cases that this is going to happen, and it happens with us and any other thing. But again, these are purely my views, not related to organization. And if you are taking this view, or anyone, please be very cautious. It's not a legal opinion that we are giving, or this is just a practical thing, because I've also checked with many people in the industry how it happens. So if people are not giving, definitely we should try for it. It should not happen that once you have said, "Okay, bhai, give me the pen," and he's not giving you, you say, "Okay, it's accepted." You'll have to fight for it. You'll have to ensure that you made all the efforts that was required to be made to get the pen, to get the details that were required. If you are not getting, you should have enough evidence to ensure, if some regulator comes tomorrow, that I ensure that this was not this. We asked for the pen, but he couldn't give, and because of this reason and all, you should have a backup. Second is, SEBI has given one more thing, other identifier. So there would be some, some way where you can identify. So if he's not giving you pen, but of all the person, but if you have the pen of the person to whom you information you have received or you have shared, I think you can put that thing required, or in invoice, if you have generated some GSTI number or something, some identifier where SEBI can identify, yes, this is the person whom you shared, and now SEBI can track that person. So you should have something, if you are not getting pen, some type of documentation that you tried, and if you couldn't get it, then that's the reason now you're putting this in the SDD to ensure that you are compliant. So that is a practical view that can be taken.
Did you mean that auditors also need to maintain the SDD for each and every SPA, the entity they audit? I think we discussed this actually, you explained actually. Is it the company secretary or the overall responsibility for the STD? Please mention for relevant class to this. He actually said it is actually a team effort. It is not only solely a company secretary, because many times company secretary is not involved. You'll get the information later also, but the awareness should be there. It should be the teamwork. It is everybody who's actually generating it. It becomes his responsibility actually. That awareness should be there in the organization. Please clarify whether it is actual conversation or just nature of UPSC needs to be recorded in STD with and one time is enough. No, the one time is not enough, because if you are actually creating a different version, probably you can put version 1, version 2, version 3, etc. That is where you have to take a judgment that time what is there. As Hemant given a very nice example. If the information passed on in the financial to somebody at the time of the financial preparations, and it is shared, and somebody is working on it, but unless he further shares, then there is a need to get the entry version 2. That is what I think. Hemant, your view, please.
Yes, sir, correct. I agree.
So here,
My company is.
Sir, Professor Bala, so here, yes, this is relevant. This is a relevant question, because it is an industry debate and discussion point that should SDDs become a storehouse of UPSI? Is that the intent of the regulator? No, that's not the intent. The words are nature of UPSI and not the complete story around your UPSI. Not the complete information in volumes and volumes of text and entries. No. So only in brief that what constitutes the nature of that particular transaction. You simply need to record that. This is clear.
My company is proposed to be listed, and DRHP also filed. After the listing share. No, the moment DRHP is generated, that is the time you need to have the STD. As defined in the regulation, the software must be on the internal server and cannot be outsourced. Yeah, I think you've given the view here. I think our many companies mainly maintain it in the books of accounts and every data of the party cloud service. Now, if that is the secured with the encryption, can we actually maintain STD in the third-party cloud?
Third-party cloud. So Shelly has covered this in FAQs ahead. It's a very good explanation she has given. You'll get clarification there.
Okay. Can you please repeat the guidance note that is to be referred to STD? Yeah, it is the ICSI guidance note on STD, which is issued for the purpose of certifying professional, which is there. That is the guidance note is actually referred to.
It's called Manual on Structured Digital Database. Manual on Structured Digital Database Compliance Certification.
Okay. Financial difference of UPSI clearance for one matter, we are receiving 1,000 mails, so not only one. Yeah, this is what he discussed actually initially. Is the strategy also to maintain STD in receiving the information from the company, or it will be the capacity of the recipient of the UPSI as it mandated by the PTA regulation? Is it a statutory auditors to maintain STD receiving the information from the company? It will be in the capacity of the recipient of UPC is mandated by the PTA regulation. No, if it is the auditing form, yes, to generate it because the further sharing is there, that has got to be recorded here. Do the fiduciary consultant engage in the process?
Sir, just a minute. So what this Hansa is trying to ask is that under the regulation, the mandate is that the person or the entity who is sharing the information is supposed to make prompt entry in the SDD. Now, statutory auditor is not sharing; he's the recipient. So why?
He has to have the STD provided if he is going to share further to his team.
Yes, right.
That is the question. Yeah.
Yes, that is the clarification which Hansa is seeking, that why for so you got the answers. So even though the statutory order, any other consultant, a law firm or a PCS firm, we all are receiving information. But why we have been mandated to make entries is that we might be further sharing this information with other intermediaries or third parties. So hence flow needs to be maintained.
Correct. I think the query related to the information from time clients could be related to the merchant banking transaction where the client banker gets information in the due diligence. Yeah, that is what she said very clearly, because who you are to maintain, if you are going to share further, then in which case that further sharing, SEBI want to actually track it down. That's what I think so. I think now it is 12 o'clock. We'll go ahead because there are more things will get answered automatically because some FAQs are also coming up. So I think we'll continue with the presentation, then we'll take up this. Yeah.
Sure. So these are just simple steps for SDD maintenance. Companies have to detect whether this is UPSI and it has been created or shared. Then step 2 is to record the UPSI with short description of UPSI name, PAN, and ensure there are no unauthorized access and edits, and audit trail has been maintained, and only authorized person should have access to reports generated. The records have to be retained for minimum 8 years or up till the investigation is being completed. Just a moment. Next, these are not fields provided for. First one is date and time of UPSI, which must be timestamped and recorded chronologically. Next is nature of UPSI, a brief description, name of sender, person initiating the communication, PAN of sender, name of recipient, information is being communicated, and in this case, even organization shall be added if it is communicated to some external party. PAN of individual and organization, mode of sharing, email, phone, VC, physical, in any mode, whether it was a person internally from the company or it was some external consultant, and the purpose of sharing, legitimate purpose, if it is being shared to auditor, then for audit purpose, if it is being shared to consultant, then the name of the project or any other relevant detail. Then next is timeline when should SDD entries be made. So if the UPSI is originated or generated from within the company, then entry shall be made immediately at the time of sharing. And if the information is being generated from outside the organization or it is an external source, then the entry shall be made within 2 calendar days. This 2 calendar day timeline was introduced via amendment by SEBI, which was from 10th March, and it is being applicable as on 10th June to all the listed companies.
So here,
Another requirement.
Shelly, so here it is very important when you are considering timelines for entering your SDD entries. Also, you need to simultaneously check, because this UPSI, most of the cases, it also constitutes a material disclosure under Regulation 30. So your timelines might be clashing these 2 days, but 12 hours or 6 hours or 24 hours timeline under Regulation 30. So you have to be mindful of when you are assessing the timelines for making SDD entries and for making disclosures under Regulation 30. Yeah.
Next is annual certification requirement. The listed companies to whom the provisions of Regulation 24A of secretarial audit are applicable are required to confirm compliance status of SDD in the annual secretarial compliance report. The listed entities to whom the provisions of Regulation 24A of LODR are not applicable are required to confirm compliance status of SDD by submitting SDD compliance certificate in the format prescribed and shall be certified by a practicing company secretary within 60 days from the end of financial year. If the company is non-compliant with SDD requirement, the company need to submit quarterly compliance certificate, which shall be certified by a practicing company secretary till the time the company complies. And in case of proposed to be a newly listed company, the exchange will take certificate at the time of filing of offer document from PCS that the company is compliant with regulation 3.5 and 3.6 of SEBI PIT regulation. And now this certification has also become part of DRHP. Another requirement is applicability of SDD maintenance on fiduciaries and intermediaries. So the requirement is placed under Regulation 9A2D of PIT regulation. Every listed company must ensure that any person who is required to handle UPSI as part of their role, which includes intermediaries and fiduciaries, shall maintain a structured digital database which contains again the same requirement as applicable on a listed company: details of UPSI shared or communicate or received, name of communicated and recipient of information, along with PAN, date and time of communication, nature of UPSI, and purpose, mode, and time. And the same controls are required to be maintained. The SDD data shall be non-temperable and time-stamped. So this is an example of how intermediary and fiduciaries SDD structuring works. The listed entity X has appointed a law firm or merchant banker Y in respect of fundraising activity, and A from listed entity has shared the said UPSI with B of law firm or merchant banker. The structured digital database of X should capture the nature of UPSI shared, details of A, Y, and B along with their PAN or any other unique identifier. The law firm or the merchant banker shall in turn maintain another structured digital database internally capturing the nature of UPSI received and shared, details of X, A, and B along with their PAN or other unique identifier in case PAN is not available, in accordance with Regulation 982D and as required under Schedule 3. This is a clear example when the UPSI of a listed company is being floated within the consultant organization or law firm, and how that UPSI data and flow shall also be captured.
I'd like to give an example here with respect to NBFCs, for example. The NBFCs may be giving loans to listed entities. Okay, and while giving loans to listed entities, they would be looking into a lot of data which may or may not be publicly available. So to ensure that now you are a fiduciary, now you got the data from someone from listed entity, you will have to make this entry who received it, where what was the information that you received, and you'll have to ensure that people don't trade in the share, because now they are also they or their immediate relative doesn't trade in the share. So there's something also called as watch list, which NBFCs do maintain a watch list, where they ensure that apart from maintaining this data, the people who have received the information, they will not trade in the securities of those listed entities where they have received. So we'll have to take care of those kind of, even in merchant banker or anywhere where you are fiduciary. So the idea is, it's not only information that you are receiving, you have to make entry. The idea is, the legitimate purpose was only for the loan that you give, and that is the purpose that you received the information. Now you cannot trade for your personal benefit from that information to gain your personal benefit. So that is how it should be looked at.
You actually touched upon the very, very sensitive point, Hemant. The whole purpose of this STD, the whole purpose of creating the database is to protect any information which is actually going out without being made public, and undue gain or avoiding the losses should not take it. That is the whole idea. Because that is why even in the fiduciary organization, whosoever people who are actually associated, they are actually duty bound, rather confidentiality bound to maintain the information by themselves. They should not get involved. You touched upon the very nice point. That is what the intention of the regulation. Yeah.
Next is who is considered as fiduciary or intermediary. This is just a illustrative data. anyone who is handling UPSI offer for a listed company is covered as an intermediary or fiduciary. But some of the examples are investment bankers, statutory, internal, and secretarial auditors, accountancy and law firms, consultants for M&A strategy, tax, IP, merchant bankers, registrars, valuers, due diligence agencies, rating agencies, banks, mutual funds, insurance companies, law firms handling certain transactions, or any other person who is handling UPSI of a listed company. Next are some of the measures for listed company for compliance while sharing UPSI with intermediary or fiduciary include SDD clause in engagement letters, request a declaration from vendors confirming SDD maintenance, shares UPSI through official channels only, educate during onboarding about all the PIT obligations and also about company's internal code of conduct, company's UPSI policy, conduct periodic DD for audits for high risk vendors. Here's a quick list on how SDD shall be maintained. First of all, companies have to identify whether this information is a UPSI. If it is a UPSI, has it been shared internally or externally with someone? And if it was shared, whether the entry was made immediately or within 2 days, if external as applicable, and how the name, PAN, date, time, nature has been recorded, mode of communication and purpose, and is the database protected edits and tampering. So if these all requirements are being fulfilled, that and these if these are part of SOP of SDD maintenance of company, I think listed companies are complying with SDD requirement. So now we are moving on FAQs, which are being issued by SEBI on the SEBI PIT regulations. So first question was, is SDD maintenance under Regulation 3.5 is applicable to intermediaries or fiduciaries? Like we already discussed, yes, it applies to listed companies and intermediaries and fiduciaries who handle UPSI of a listed company in the course of business operations. Then next is, what must listed entities record when UPSI is shared with fiduciary or intermediary? The listed companies must record details of UPSI name and PAN of recipient and sender, identifier of intermediary and fiduciary. Similarly, another structured digital database should also be maintained internally by fiduciary or intermediary, capturing information as mentioned above in accordance with Regulation 9A2D and as required under Schedule 3. Then the next is, can companies use or any cloud servers like Amazon or Google for SDD? In this, SEBI have replied that the board of directors and compliance officers are responsible for ensuring that the structured digital database as mandated under Regulation 3.5 and 3.6 of SEBI PIT regulation is maintained securely, whether on cloud or locally, with proper and secured internal controls. They must ensure confidentiality, integrity, security of all the entries and logs, and comply with all applicable SEBI laws, circulars, FAQs, and exchange directions. Any violation or failure in SDD maintenance will render the board and the compliance officer liable. Next is, does the internal UPSI list needs to be disclosed publicly? No, there is no requirement to publish the UPSI list or SDD content under PIT regulation or LODR anywhere. Next question is, Regulation 3.5 requires structured digital database shall not be outsourced and shall be maintained internally with adequate internal controls and checks. Whether a listed entity can use software provided by third-party vendors wherein the server is of the vendor, but requisite entries are made by the employees of the company only. In this, SEBI have replied that the third-party vendors are providing services and software on login basis where the server is maintained by the vendor. Therefore, the vendor may have access to such records, which would be contrary to the regulations with respect to maintenance of structured digital database. Next is SDD entry needed even if UPSI is shared only within the company? For this, yes, all sharing internal or external must be recorded in SDD to maintain a verifiable audit trail. Next is a very important one. If a nominee
No,
director...
here, here, 1 minute. Here, when you say STD recorded, even if subsidiary shared only with the company, as we have seen, you might have identified a insider person within the organization, but information may not be shared with all the insider person. You may be sharing only within the particular group, depending upon the project, depending on the event, what you are actually planning to do. So that is why with whom you are shared actually becomes very important. So that is why this question is there, whether it is internally it is shared. Because internally there are 20 people are there, but only thing you form a group of only 10 people where you are sharing, the other 10 people out of it. Then as far as this project is concerned, they are not shared, other only 10 people are shared. So they want to have the trial. That is the purpose why this question is like this. Yeah,
So,
go ahead.
if nominee directors share UPSI with their nominating bank or financial institute, is it covered as a UPSI communication and shall be entered in SDD? For this, SEBI have said yes, this also shall be treated as a UPSI communication and shall be recorded in the SDD of the company. Next are some of the practical
Before that,
challenges.
Sherry, before that, I have, sir, few FAQs. If you want, I can just read it out
Yeah,
from
sure.
the
Yeah,
institute
sure.
manual. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Very interesting. Institute has gone beyond, SEBI. See how institute is working. So institute has gone beyond SEBI and they have identified some questions that may arise, and they have given a very practical view for all the questions. And just to tell you, apart from SEBI, there is a stock exchange also have given a lot of FAQs. It was in 2022, or if I'm not wrong. You can go through those also. That will help. So one of the question with SEBI, I'm just reading it out few 2-3 questions or maybe 4-5 questions. One is, if a listed company is an intermediary registered with SEBI also, then whether separate SDT needs to be maintained for the purpose of listed company and for intermediary function. Answer is yes, it has to be maintained separately. That is what the answer is. Answer is no need to maintain separate SDT, but the companies should ensure that they have adequate controls. That is what they're saying. But it is idea. I mean, my view is we should have separate SDT for both the things. Second is, in case of multiple group companies, whether SDT should be maintained separately. The answer is yes. They are saying it should be maintained separately. Can SDT be maintained separately on common server used by the group companies? Yes, they are saying. When is UPSI germinated? See, very nicely given. When is UPSI germinated? It says when the information starts taking shape of a price sensitive information. That is where the probability of going ahead with the information event is likely than not going ahead, and such information is likely to be materially affecting the prices of the securities. Then it shall be recorded in the SDD. That is what they have given. So very nicely captured. When is UPSI germinated? Second is it necessary to enter the details of SDD if it is shared internally multiple times in a day? See, this kind of practical questions are covered here. ICSI's view is the entries need to be made person wise. If same UPSI is shared with different persons in a day, then for each person a new entry needs to be made. If different parts of a particular UPSI are shared multiple times in a day with the same person, then single entry may suffice depending on the nature of part of the UPSI. So there are many questions where I selected a few of this. So very nicely captures all the FAQs here.
Thank you, Hemant. These were very relevant. And this answers 3-4 queries on multiple entries and one-time entries. Thank you so much.
Many thanks, Hemant. Actually, the guidance notes are excellent. They have put, the expert minds, and they have brought the very excellent thing. Not only that, they have been modifying from time to time also when the amendments are actually taking place. One must actually go through it. It's of the great use to all of us. Yeah. Go ahead,
Next are some of the practical challenges which companies are facing while making UPSI entry into SDD. Problem number 1 is UPSI information but circulated internally before for formalization. Suppose a business head drafts a strategic M&A on July 1 and discusses it informally with CFO and legal for feasibility. The board reviews and formally considers it on July 5. In this case, when should SDD entry be made? On July 1 initiation or July 5 at the time of formal circulation or later? So the answer is SDD entry must be made when UPSI starts circulating internally on and not merely when formalized. Thus, SDD entry shall be made on July 1. Since the information might vary, in this case, companies can start using draft stage tagging in SDD entries for such entries. Second scenario is UPSI originates externally, example from a regulator or a rating agency, but it is being floated internally before intimated to exchanges or made public. In this scenario, regulatory communication or ratings were received on July 10, and it was shared internally with finance and legal on July 10 and was communicated to exchanges on July 11. Can SDD entry be made up to July 12 within 2 calendar days, since the info UPSI information was originally generated externally or on immediate basis for communication to finance and legal. In this, clarification is regulation 35 proviso allows 2 calendar days only for information not emanating from within the organization. However, if such information starts circulating internally, the source shall be considered internal and entry shall be made on immediate basis. Only the original entry which was received by external source shall have 2 calendar days timeline. Then now next question is multiple drafts of UPSI are being evolving. So in this scenario, multiple drafts of earning results are circulated before final approval. Which version shall be considered as a UPSI? So the practice that is being followed is all of the versions with insiders before disclosures may constitute UPSI if material information is being shared. In this, entries shall be made at the first stage of draft circulation only, and companies can use UPSI earnings draft version 2, since all of the information consists some or the other material information. Next is uncertainty whether an event qualifies as UPSI. A business unit finalizes a new product pricing strategy, but unsure if it is on material information. So the only solution is, if in doubt, entry in SDD under tentative UPSI with a qualification tag, materiality under evaluation, update or remove with reason note later. The principle for this is to better to over-report than under-report. Another one is UPSI that has been communicated in a group meeting or a group call where there is no single owner for making entry. So in this scenario, during a virtual strategy call, example, or over Zooms or Teams involving 15 people from various departments, strategy, legal, finance, with business heads, UPSI related to a potential acquisition is discussed. Now the issue is everyone will assume either the compliance officer or the strategy team is logging the SDD entry, but no one is formally nobody has formally documented attendees or discussion. So in this, the risk is no SDD entry would have been made. So companies can introduce a policy that for every UPSI discussion in meetings, the meeting organizer must make SDD entry. Next, a few of the case laws wherein we are going to see how regulator is focused on SDD maintenance on a listed company. So in one of the scenario, administrative warning was received for delayed SDD entries by a listed companies. So a listed company had received an administrative warning from SEBI for delays in making timely entries in UPSI in SDD concerning UPSI. So the company had cited that during the pandemic, they were working remotely, and because of that, the lapses happened. SEBI, however, rejected the justification and emphasized that delays were unavoidable through robust internal control and regular SDD reviews, which is responsibility of a company. And the company secretary was cautioned and urged to ensure that more vigilant compliance shall be maintained for SDD going forward.
This case very clearly says the responsibility of the company secretary, because the company secretary has to bring the awareness and stress upon the importance of the compliances. That is why SEBI has actually issued this. This is the known company, although we are not displaying the company's name. It is a very well-known company actually, which is up. Yeah.
Next is the adjudication and monetary settlement for a SDD violation. A small cap listed entity settled adjudication proceedings with SEBI by paying a monetary settlement amount after failing to maintain the mandated SDD during a specific period. SEBI found that no proper database was maintained to log the communication of UPSI. This case illustrates that even smaller listed entities are expected to maintain the same standard of compliance with SDD requirements as much as large cap companies. There is no
SEBI doesn't make
exemption.
SEBI doesn't make any difference. The only criteria is company is listed or not listed. If it is a listed company, yes, it is mandatory. Second thing is whether the information is the price sensitive information or not. Consider whether bigger company, smaller company, some concession, some restriction, something that is not there actually. That is very, very clear. Yeah.
So then next is show cause notice for SDD failure in financial results. SEBI issued a show cause notice to the managing director of a listed entity for alleged non-maintenance of SDD during the period surrounding the declaration of quarterly financial results. It was suspected that UPSI was circulated without corresponding entries in the database, and company's stock price fell significantly following the disclosure of the notice. Company publicly committed to cooperate with SEBI and to implement corrective measures to maintain compliance with SDD. Then next is public the disclosure of SDD non-compliance by stock exchanges. In another instance, a listed company's SDD non-compliance was flagged publicly by stock exchanges on their court pages as per SEBI's direction. The name of the compliance officer was also highlighted, reinforcing individual accountability. This approach served as a strong deterrent and reputational risk, as non-compliance was made visible to investors and market participants until the entity regularized the lapse. I think these are all the cases that we have discussed. And here we would be concluding that the structured digital database is a critical tool for entities dealing with UPSI, as it also ensures compliance with SEBI PIT regulation and helps with the prevention of insider trading, as even the people or designated persons are aware that whatever UPSI access they have, it is being recorded in the database, so they would also think twice before uh, executing any insider trading transaction or any transaction while having access to any UPSI. It helps in maintaining the transparency and accountability in the market. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, now we will take up the remaining questions. Frequently asked a question, FAQ is the exchange of the point number 6, which actually alludes example like this is by the BSE. For example, we finalize the financial result for say quarter ended September 2022. The entry can be made by the person in the accounts department at the start of the finalizing the process. Additionally, if UPSI is actually shared with the auditors, then the details of the audit from the senior partner or other entities of the audit firm with the UPSI is shared need to be recorded. The audit firm in turn must maintain STT accordingly. Even regulation is saying this one-time entry. Like one-time entry is correct. When you are sharing it, it is a one-time entry. What happened to the further sharing? That is what it is actually there. Because the whole idea is sharing. Yes, it is correct. But further sharing, that is what it is. The audit trail is actually remaining further sharing. The audit firm is sharing further with the other people. That need to be recorded. That's the thing. Which information to be considered UPSI and entered in the STD company in process or IPO? So this is set actually, to identify. That's what she clearly given the checklist in the initially. Certain software give the actions to send an email to the STD email ID, and the compliance officer can confirm on the software will that be compliant with the STD system? Hemant, your view?
I understand. Yeah.
Certain software gives to send an email in the STD email, and the compliance officer confirm to the software. Will that be a compliance in STD system? Or can recipient only can make a entry on behalf of the both under the receiver, sender and receiver?
So
Probably
I
it
was
relates
saying,
to, yeah, yes.
yeah, yeah. So what I understand out of this query is about that, certain softwares have inbuilt mechanisms whereby the emails, they are tagged as sensitive emails, and then they automatically ensure entries in the STD, which is a good feature. Nowadays, mostly softwares are coming with these kind of features. So this is acceptable, and this is a compliant STD system, provided that you are also simultaneously ensuring the security of and integrity of the internal controls in place, basically, and all the other requirements under the regulations. Am I right, Hemant? You are on mute. You are on mute.
Yeah, I agree. So what you said is correct. The software can, directly send the email and sensitize the matter that, what the matter is been sent to you is UPSI, and you should act upon the way that for the legitimate purpose only.
Whether the CA fiduciary capacity is required to keep a tab of approve of trading plan trade clearance.
See, we are not covering trading plans here. It's a separate chapter altogether under the regulations. However, in brief, this requires prior approval and pre-clearance from the compliance officer of the company. So
how to maintain the SDD? Yeah, how to maintain the SDD for promoter individual, identify DB, or this I think we discussed actually. It's the same question which is repeated. Either the predetermined list of items in which entries are to be made, either need to state who will enter and who will be there to access in view.
Yes, so internal
That is very
codes,
simple.
yes, please.
Yeah, so answer is very
Yes,
simple. Whoever is germinating the information should be making the entry, and whom you are sending it should name should be covered. So that should be the, you can add, Mridul.
Yeah, I was just saying that, and welcome, Mr. Rahul Saxena. I'll talk to you later. So on this, but yes, a predetermined list has to be compiled. You can compile it, though you never know that what might constitute UPSI in a particular transaction also. But however, yes, certain predetermined transactions you are very well aware of. And these kind of assessments are made in-house by the compliance teams, the CS teams. And of course, your insiders, a list of your connected persons who all have access. This can be framed internally.
If I become aware of the UPSI, but the generator did not capture, can I capture on behalf of all at one go?
Didn't understand.
If I become aware of the UPSI as part of the team, but the generator did not capture, can I capture on behalf of all at one go?
Okay, so as part of the team,
means,
a team member is becoming aware of some information, but the generator is the generator. So can I capture? So your internal policies, your internal code of conduct defines that first, that who is supposed to make entry in a particular situation. You have to adhere to that. If no internal conduct or code policy has been framed in your case, so then yes, compliance has to be ensured. You can make the entry, you can speak, you can approach your compliance officer, and the compliance officer can then make the entry.
What would be the date from which a company can be said to be in the process of IPO?
Is this
the moment you file the DRHP, the moment you file the DRHP, you come under STD. That is the whole thing. Because so long as you are unlisted is okay. The moment you made public, you are going to be listed, then that is the moment it starts all your compliances. You should be prepared. Let us say we are working on finalizing the financial results. A shares to B shares to C then shares to A, then again A to B, then B to C. Every time, this we discuss actually multiple times because it is depending upon the version. And again, sharing at each stage, it is not only the first time. That is what it is actually said. We discussed this elaborately, giving the example. Whether all the staffs of account department has to be considered as insider who have access to the accounting data. Yeah, finance department, if they are working with the financial, yes, definitely they will be.
Sorry, Professor Bala, just wait. So yes, let's clarify this because there are multiple questions on this one-time entry and multiple entries. So this what Dipesh is raising the point is, and you are also right, but what he is further specifying is that if there are repetitive entries between same persons, like A to B, B to C, C to you rightly said, clarified that the flow has to be entered every time. But then if the cycle is repeated again between the same people, so then yes, the FAQs clarify that those multiple entries are not supposed to be made between the same persons.
Yeah, same information is repeatedly shared, then one time is sufficient. But if the version changed, then the question arises. That is the whole idea.
Yes.
Whether all the staff of the account department
manual.
Whether all the staff of account department
answers the question.
Yeah. Whether all the staff of the account department to be insider who have access to the accounting data. By and large, yes, whosoever associated with the sensitive information, they are. By and large, in many organizations, all the accounts people are there, but that depends upon the policy of the company, whom they are identifying it, etc. If there are people who are not involved, then they are not. That you have to take a call depending on the situation. How a company secretary can take a UPSI shared amongst other departments. What CS is involved in it. I think we discussed actually, it is actually a team because he is being a compliance officer. He has to ensure the compliances. Preparing financial involve various preliminary activities in taking the download from the accounting software, passing the entries, preparing the journal, ledger, etc. I believe entry of the UPSI should be entered. Yesterday, the first draft of the financial results is shared by the listed account department to the CFO or not prior to the otherwise. Yesterday will be crowded with the thing. Please give your views. I think Hammond's actually given it very elaborately on this, touching upon the financial results. See, financial, if you are collecting and collating and the information, etc., that time it is not. The moment you prepared the first draft, I think that is the time. Hammond, am I right?
Yes, sir. And sir, ICICI also clarified the same in their FAQs. So you may refer that as well.
Is the pre and post board committee meeting related to the documents exchange between the secretarial team and performing its duties also to be recorded in the STD? In the pre
so you
and post
again the
board,
same thing. No, so the moment if you're those three conditions we have discussed many times now during the webinar, unless your conditions are met, if it's unpublished, let's not repeat. So it's not every document exchange and between the teams that needs to be done.
UPSI must be shared within the team orally, document electronically for one event, and finance result multiple times in person, documenting paper, telephonically, email, WhatsApp, Zoom, each type, stack and stock points, messenger. A one-time entry is, that is what we have been discussing. One-time entry, the same information, multiple times shared, one-time entry is sufficient, but the version changes, then entries will be made according to the version, whatever it is, that is there. It is not every exchange you have to put for the same information.
Sir, I would like to, before we take some other questions, I would like to share, two things that, which was very practical and, it happened to us, so we just to take your views as well. So we being NBFCs, okay, NBFCs are also required to share because we issue a lot of NCDs and all. So there are ways that we may have to share some information outside. Okay, so when we share information outside, we for us, any information that goes is an UPSI. But from person who is taking that, who is receiving, he may feel that no, this is not UPSI because this may be publicly aware somewhere, available somewhere. So what is the ideal way to ensure that whether the information that you're sharing is UPSI or not? So what ideally we did was we made a policy itself that any information that will go from our side, which will include all four to five things about NBFC. This may be a UPSI. Because of this, they may come to know about a lot of things. Second is, take a structure of a holding company, which is a listed entity, which has a lot of NBFCs in the group, which has a lot of operating subsidiaries. The holding company is CIC, for example. It doesn't have a business, but there are a lot of, subsidiaries. So any information that you are sharing of subsidiaries, you should also ensure that the person whom you are sharing does not deal in the holding company securities. You should also ensure that because what happens is when you're sharing information of your subsidiaries, the holding company is not active company. It is just a CIC. It is holding the securities, and the income is mostly from the subsidiaries income only. So you should ensure that because one important subsidiary information that you are giving, it may impact the price of the holding company as well. So you should ensure that that is the second learning which I learned from my this thing. Third experience was there were a lot of argument which happens. This is we have discussed with a lot of people around in the industry. When we share the information for, say, fundraising, okay, we will be sharing information with respect to the company which is raising the funds, and we may want to put the entry in the SDD. The person opposite side will say, if you put the things in the SDD, I will not be able to trade in your security. I will not be able to invest in your securities because now I am having UPSI, and based on UPSI I cannot trade. That is the argument that people will give. Answer to this is, the legitimate purpose was fundraising only, and we wanted you to invest in the funds. So in that case, you are bound. You can deal in those securities, but others cannot deal. So that is the thing that you should be ensuring. So these are three practical things that I learned. I may be wrong, brother. You may add if you want to add. My views may be wrong.
You are not wrong, rather, and you should not even say these are practical challenges. You should say these are best practices. So, and who else? I mean, if organization of your stature and you are at the helm of the compliance, see, it's undoubtedly commendable on organizations like yours when you are discussing such kind of practices, because between holding subsidiaries, the law says such a nice apt example you've given. The law says that it's only your STD and entries that impact your company. But what if the subsidiaries, some information relating to our subsidiaries, and those might not be even your material subsidiaries. They might not even be listed. However, if that particular information materially affects the price of your securities as a holding company, you still need to consider it as an UPSI and make an entry in your SDD. So these are, and where all these things get captured, as Mr. Rahul Saxena also raised, is within, you can always predetermine these kind of transactions and come out with the kind of best practices that Mr. Hemant has highlighted, and frame them up within your internal code of conduct under the PIT regulations and follow it. So, do we take some other questions if they are not the repetitive ones like multiple entries?
No. It is there. Very much it is there. Let me get back to the chat box. Yeah, here again, somebody has put the point, that one-time sharing, that I think we have enough discussion actually, because here Deepesh has actually put a site. He says refer point number 6 or Annexure C. You can see the one-time entry. Kindly go through it, because again, it is very clear. We are also saying one-time entry is required if it is share the same information. If the version changes, the fresh information added, then it has to be shared. That's what the gist of the discussion, whatever is there. Okay. regulation just nature of UPSI and not version. It is not the question, because the version is, if you are modifying, if you are changing the thing, then version becomes changes. Because first time you prepare the statement and you discuss with the auditor, then he suggests some changes. Again, it underscores the changes because the financial results is getting altered. That is where we are seeing the version. Hemant, you can add something here, because it's a regulation just nature of UPC and not version.
So I didn't understand the question. Can you just repeat the question again?
When we say different version 1, version 2, version 3, when we said, here, Deepesh is saying, regulation only saying a nature of UPSI and not the version of UPSI, he says. So that is what I said. When the version undergoes, then the entire thing changes. It is no longer the same.
If there is no material change, we can add to Deepesh. If there is no material change in the version, if there is only it doesn't impact more, or for example, you are showing the version is showing some X amount of profit. Okay, if the profit is not there, there is no variance in the profit, for example. Now it can you may not have that thing, but suppose the version now it's saying loss. It's saying that now there's a big loss which is going to happen in the company because of the version. It is changing the entire meaning, or the entire variance is changing. Then I think you may have to make the entry again. So it all depends. You'll have to take a very conscious call when it comes to all these things.
Yeah, correct. You cannot go by only a letter. You have to go by the spirit. That is what you have to appreciate, because time again, that is the question which actually comes. Can a company ask for, when a company asks to see mobile and laptop of the senior executives of the company?
How is this relevant for STD entries? I didn't get that.
I am not very clear what is this question is relevancy, because I think this is what he has put the question actually. Company can ask the mobile or relevant. Maybe she can further elaborate on this question, what she exactly wanted. We have to record the sharing of the UPSI and not preliminary information shared to bring the UPSI into existence as informed by Mridu. Yeah, that is correct. Because the moment the UPSI is germinated, then at that particular time it has to be shared. We have actually filed the DRHB. Shall we start making the entry in the study? Yes, that is the time we have to start. That also we talked about it. Sharing the financial with the audit committee members along with the notice of the audit committee meeting. Will it constitute sharing UPSI? Can financial be shared for separate audit committee meeting for discussing financial is okay. Sharing financial with audit committee members, yeah, that is the time you are sharing it. Because if you individually sharing it, then it is actually going as per that. If you are sharing it grouply, then it's grouply, because every time when you share, it is there. So it is not that I will share individually with the members. When I share in the group, then only I put it. That is not the correct thing, I think. Hemant, you can add on that.
Yes, sir, I agree. I agree with you, sir.
Yeah. How earliest UPSC need to be recorded? That I think she discussed actually what is internal, what is external, what is the timeline that he has actually given here. Is secretarial auditor also needs to maintain SDD?
Yes.
Yes,
He being fiduciary, he should.
What alternative compliance officer have if UPSI is actually already been shared by a CFO or president and it has been informed later after some time? Should entry of UPSI be made with a delay, as entry backdate is not allowed in STD?
This is a very practical question that he has asked. Now, suppose this happens. Actually, this should not happen at the first stage. Suppose this happens. Now, you just have to take corrective action. You have no choice, to do it. So, ideal way is, to make the entry. How it was shared to the person where it was shared, how it was shared. You should make that entry. You should also, in the remarks column, you should make that, somewhere that the compliance officer got to know, or the person got to know now, and hence this entry is made. Okay. So that, everyone is very clear, and we should ensure that, because, when SEBI will come, what steps did you take? This happened. SEBI is also very, very open-minded, or any regulator is very open-minded. They understand, this has happened. But what steps have you taken? So one is, then you should not just stop there. You should now ensure that your team is aware that this should not happen. What action did you take? You made a lot of trainings after this. You ensure that people are made aware, and the next time this is not repeated. So that's very important that you as a compliance officer will have to take a role. Rudal sir, you can add
Absolutely
something
right.
on this.
Absolutely right, Hemant, what you said. That is why I said initially, bringing the awareness to the connected people. That is the prima facie thing. If that would have happened, this would not have happened. Okay, having
Correct.
happened, now you take the corrective steps. And you display also corrective step has been taken. So that is it. You are right. You are absolutely taken upon the things. See, the nature of the UPSI did not exact files or data or version. We will not be able to make entry every time as we make a small change. Yeah, that is right. That is what he said, materiality. Suppose you are making some cosmetic changes. Then those things are not called for. Actually, materiality changes, which actually alters, which is actually material, which impact. The impact is to be assessed, actually. That is what it is there. If something is speaking on that particular matter, one-time entry should be enough, I think. Yeah, same matter is shared, one-time entry is enough. That is what time again we have been actually telling. It's not to flow the information, but the nature of the UPSI. One-time entry audit trail is a software feature in verify whether the entry is genuine or not tampered. Yeah, this is the same thing what we are repeating again. Since the disclosure timeline are stringent, once the disclosure is made, it is no longer UPSI. Why should we enter in STD? No, the UPSI is maintained till the information is made public. That is the point, na? Hemant, you can elaborate on this.
Sorry,
So
I'm
this
not
is
able to hear
just
properly.
the-
Somewhere, yeah. What is the
I
question he
said-
asked?
He says, since the disclosure timeline are stringent, once the disclosure is made, it is no longer UPSI. Why should we enter in the STD?
Yeah, so
Sir,
this is
this
correct.
answer,
Please.
yeah, please go ahead, brother.
Yeah, so I'm saying this. What is this person asking, Mr. Padmanabha? Because you are yourself making a statement that disclosure has been made, so it is no longer an UPSI. Of course, there's no entry in STD. So then,
yeah, once the disclosure
what
is made, no
else?
entry. But prior to that, so long as it remains UPSI, this is actually called for. Yeah. His acquisition of 24% equity share in the SPB under the captive power rules of the state government need to be entered in the STD.
This is it seems to be under these electricity regulations, no? Captive power rules. So say this is a limited information that you have shared on it. I understand what you're trying to say. This is within the electricity regulations of the state government and the 24% equity shares, if I'm not wrong, this is the mandate under the regulations that this is the kind of ownership you need to have under those regulations. Now, whether it requires an STD entry or not, it's very simple. Again, I'm repeating, you need to simply focus on those three conditions being met. Whether this acquisition is still unpublished, whether the information has been shared by an insider or a connected person, and whether it has the potential, it does have a potential 24% acquisition. So it has a material impact on the movement of your securities. But if the other two conditions are met, only then the SGD entry will get triggered. If not, so then it will fall within the ambit of doing a material disclosure under Regulation 30. So with
Can
this
you share some
limited,
instances?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you share some instances where the SEBI has ruled non-compliant in spite of the company's best efforts due to technical issues? I think she brought out some videos, etc. Some cases they issued the administrative warning. Some cases they have chosen to take a cautious thing. That is what they have actually done in such cases. They are not penalized, but they have been want to take a future care. That is what it is happening. Entry to be made containing nature of the UPSI or not of the UPSI itself. The PTI regulation requires maintenance of the STD containing the name and the unique identity of the person who share with whom and the UPSI has been shared. If further requires entry, the nature of the UPSI which has been actually shared. as it is clear from the text of the regulation 3.5. Entry to be made containing nature of UPSI or not the UPSI itself. Yeah, that is right. She has actually given what is to be entered. In fact, she has elaborated what are the detailed entries which are to be made. She has actually given. You please go through the slide. We are disseminating the webinar once it is recorded. Then you can actually have a better thing. This is discussed very clearly. Quarterly financial statements where entry has taken loan are required to share with the banks. Will this also need to be entered as the STD? Yeah, of course. Because again, you are sharing the information. Could you touch upon on immediate relative? I don't know how this immediate relative is relevant here. I am not aware of.
Well, so he's talking about
Is the
PIT
question is
regulation,
relevant?
so immediate relative, but it is not being covered in today's webinar. Sorry, whosoever has asked. Otherwise, we'll go off topic. So, and this requires a lot
Correct.
of discussion. Hemant, you're mute.
Yeah, sorry. So I'll tell you, one thing, why immediate relative may be relevant somewhere here is if suppose an insider trading is done by an immediate relative, and suppose that you as an inside you have received that information and your wife has traded, to give an example, in the trade, and SEBI will find that there is a common link. Definitely, you are going to be in a problem because the regulator may presume that you have shared that information and that's the reason they have traded. You will not be having any shelter. So ensure that if your name is entered into SGD, please ensure that your immediate relatives also don't trade in that securities.
Subsidiaries also need to share with the parent company as a MIS as part of the SOP, where UPSI is actually communicated with this also be entered into the STD. Yeah, no, any
Yes.
sharing which has
We
to take place
discussed.
actually. Yeah. Exactly, single entry should be enough for one UPSI, even if you want that is right. Any
So
group
Dipesh
companies
is
also require.
constantly discussing with us. Dipesh is the same person, sir. This multiple entry, one-time entry. So he seems to be convinced. So we are happy to know that, Dipesh.
Are group companies also required to maintain STD?
Only if it is listed, it is required to be, or fiduciary and fiduciary capacity is required to be.
Can a person be made responsible to make entries STD software and the other can send him an email to make such entry? It is according to the company's policy. Ultimately, the whole idea is the entry is to be required to be made. Who, what, when, and other thing, and company can decide. They can have the internal policy. Are UPSI and STD regulation applicable to Section 8 companies also? Section 8, we are talking a listed company. Section 8 is the charitable company where the question comes. Okay.
Unless Section 8 is a fiduciary and it is getting some information.
Yeah, that is right. If it is a fiduciary, yes, that is right. What the entry is added also block in pair of the trade of the security, or a company needs to inform to the SEBI or any regulatory authority. No, nothing is required. There is no reporting and other things. You know to maintain the record. If something goes wrong, it is only for the tracing of the audit trail. That is the whole purpose. This has been normal session. Yeah, its appreciation is coming. In the case of the nominee director, sharing the information with the nominee is the date of the sharing is a little later. If the date of sharing is a little later, I'm not getting the question, but still, if the information shared with the nominee director, that also required to be entered. At the time when it is said it is, if it is delayed, we talked about it, what happened, the delay, etc. Other thing.
And sir,
How the
ICICI
access-
has clarified one more thing, in nominee director somewhere, if I'm not mistaken, it says if nominee director is also sharing that data to it's the company appointing him as a nominee, then he's a fiduciary and he also will have to make, he will have to ensure that, entry is made.
Okay. How will the access is being given to any person in the entity? Now, how will the access is given to any entity? Once is the identity of people, it's all working with the security. These are all need-based. So that is the thing. That is your internal control system. Whether the data to be updated in the STD relating to the unlisted subsidiaries data sharing with the auditor during the quarterly audit. If yes, whether all the subsidiaries are only the material subsidiaries.
We discussed this.
How will the people, MD, CEO, trade as they have UPSI at all times? No, it is not the question of all times. How can it be all 365? It is not there. That is why the trading window, opening of the trading window, closing of the trading window, it's all depends upon. No, it is not throughout the year. I think this question seems to be hypothetical.
And sir, we can always tell them and motivate in such scenarios to have trading plans for MD CEOs. Though the statistics is not very encouraging, but why don't these MD CEOs then have trading plans? Then they can always trade.
My company is actually proposed listing. I am the company secretary. How will I aware of my director of the senior management about his type of the software? They do not know about the requirement and anyway, please suggest. You have to give a training or otherwise you have to identify somebody or you have to take responsibility of doing the thing. That is what you have to do because training and awareness is the must actually. In the germinator of the MD, but can CS on behalf of make the entry like sender MD and receive CS and the other party? Yeah, it is your again internal control system. The whole idea is ultimately the entry is required to be made in the STD database. That is the thing. Can you cover immediate relative inclusion? I think we talked about it. So we won't touch upon here, including personal sharing. Nature of the UPSI means to financial result. It is not only the financial, any information which is going to impact the capital market. That is the thing. It is not only the financial results. How many people should get access to do entry in the STD software? It is again up to you. Here, if the people are there, if the people who are dealing it, if they are supposed to do, they will do it. Or if you are designating a person, he will do it. It is again the company's policy. There is no general rules and regulation we can lay down actually. Or any compliance officer should do it. It is up to you. How many people should, yeah, again the same question. Because clarification on a small example, let's say listed company has approved issuing an offer letter to the shortlisted candidate to the positive for the position of the KMP. Is it subject to his or his acceptance, then subsequent approval or by the board? Can this UPSI movement and stages of recording STD be deliberated?
Changes in top management as KMPs are covered, but not at such a nascent stage. I mean, this is a little subjective question. So, Hemant, what do you feel? Because yes, changes in top management, they are covered, but what is the stage once the board approval is in place, a concrete decision has been taken, or like here, this
apply the test of materiality where there are two things whether this information is going to change your share price. For example, there is an MD who is going to resign. He is the person who is who looks after everything. Okay, now he is going to resign. You got to know. Only few people are aware at this time. It's not made public, and you are very sure if he goes, the company's the business is going to lose. Definitely, it's the time to make the entry in the SDD. It all depends. It's very subjective. There's no answer yes or no to this. It's very subjective.
yes.
If
So
someone is
funny
getting
thing is-
appointed, if someone is getting appointed, whether that person is if he's suppose from a very very reputed company and this company is say it's into losses and this person may come and there's a possibility that his vision can change the plan and you are aware that this person is going to come in this company. Definitely you should make entry in the system because
yes.
you are aware of something which is going to be positive to the company. It is totally subjective. You will have to
Yes,
take
I
a
agree.
call on this.
So funny, it depends upon what kind of KMP, from where the background, from where the KMP is coming, what would be the potential impact on the pricing of your securities. All these things are critical. So if such is the scenario, then even at the stage of issuing the offer letter, it is suggested to make an entry. Otherwise, you can wait for the board approval in other cases. So Professor Bala is not on seat. How many questions do we? It's already 1 p.m. I hope, Hemant, you are not time bound.
No, that's fine.
We can look at some other relevant questions
Yeah.
because I can see a list of around 85 more questions. I can just glance through. Yes, electricity regulations, we answered that. We have clarified. Audit committee and auditors. Okay, someone is saying my audit committee meeting is at 4 p.m. and board meeting is at 5 p.m. and meeting is on Saturday. I have not shared the financials to audit committee and board in such a case whether I need to make entries in the STD. I have shared financials during the meeting itself. Whenever is the stage of your disclosure to within your teams or during the meeting, that is the stage of
Someone in your team
disclosure.
will have to make that entry. If not
Yes.
you, because you are in the meeting, somewhere in the team will have to make that entry when it is shared.
One case for insolvency resolution, CIRP process also. If the company is undergoing CIRP process, whether the resolution professional would be the UPSI person, where the name and PAN of the RP should be recorded in structured digital database.
Of course, yes. If he's going to have UPSI, of course he should. His
So
name
all
should
these
be there.
powers rest with the RP in such scenarios.
Yeah.
So, sir, you are back. So please, we were just discussing.
Yeah.
It's already 1 p.m. So we can take questions selectively.
Yeah. Now let us see what is the question left out actually. Small example, we talked about how many people should get, that also we talked. Audit committee meet. By audit committee meeting is at 4 p.m.
So we
and the
discussed
board
that.
meeting is at 5 p.m. Yeah, we discussed that. Okay. If the
We have
company undergoing the
discussed.
insolvency also, sir, do we
Yeah.
have any?
Yeah,
Do we have to
taken
make
that up
any
as well.
created data? Okay. That is all I think. So then in which case what we can do is if anybody
can
is
close.
raising the hands, we can check up. Yeah. I don't see any people hand actually risen. But anyway, we can check with them. Anybody would like to ask any question, please raise your hand, please. I think there are few hands are risen. Yes. I think Paresh is there actually. And then Shyam is another one. And Kaushik is another one. Yes, you can unmute. You can speak, please. Yeah, Shyam Krishna. Or Kaushik. Or
Yes,
Paresh
sir.
Vajayani.
Am I audible?
Yes. Yeah, very much. Yes, Kaushik.
So,
Go ahead.
sir, do we have to create or make database of relatives of a designated person or connected person in the STD software?
What is the question?
Relatives.
Please come back again. What is the question?
Like we have to prepare a database in STD system to whom we are sharing the information. So
Yeah.
like we have to enter or create a database of relative of designated person. So as and when they are sharing the information to their relatives, so they can make an entry for the same.
So
Your designated person will cover relatives also. So the question here is, understand one thing. SDD entry and making entry is different, and designated persons and approving their trade is different. So when you are when your relative, if your immediate relative wants to purchase some shares, that time you'll have to ensure that whether he was having UPSI or not. That test you will have to enter that time. But at the time of making entry in SDD, the question is very simple. You have to enter the name of the person whom you are sharing with. So both are different questions. That is what I feel.
So in that case, I am sharing the information with a designated person, and further he want to share the information to his relative. Then if a database is created, then he has to just select and like create the STD. Like I am sharing this information to this person. If database is created, then he can easily create that. Like he can make the entry.
I believe, so there are two different aspects here. One, that you have to separately maintain a database or a checklist or a list of your designated persons. That is separate.
Yes.
Okay, that who
Yes.
constitute the DPs in your case. You agree? So there, the DPs, their relatives, are all insiders, the connected persons. All these definitions combined together, because these would be the people who have potential access to UPSI for any listed entity. One is that.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
there you cover all these people, including your relatives. Now coming to the SGD part, as Hemant also clarified, these are separate things. So when now coming to SGD, if within this list your relatives, DPs, connected persons, if the information has been shared and it is UPSI, which is materially affecting your price, then you will make an entry in the SDD. So both are separate databases. One is the structured one, or typical SDD, and other one is for your internal assessment that who all are your insiders and have potential access, right?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Paresh. Paresh, please.
Yes, sir. So just by listening to all the question and answer, one is clear that it is applicable to proposed listed company. So it is clear. But here the few question I have, what is the where if you have said the DRHP filing is the date from where company is supposed to be listed. But if there is no UPSI, how we can make entry in the SDD? Because in the unlisted company case, there is no UPSI. We can say that affect the price of the security. Moment the company filed DRHP, there is no for more detail available in the DRHP like valuation and price of the say. Only once the company gets listed, the price of the securities are listed and available to the market, and then the APSI can affect the price of the securities. So in case of that IPO proposed company, how we can make the SDD entry, and if there are also multiple views like the moment we file the DRHP company is said to be in the list of proposed IPO. Someone says the moment when we appoint the merchant banker it is proposed to be listed company. Someone say when the company file pass the resolutions, company can said to be proposed to be listed. So there are few views and confusion for this related SDD entry. Can you give some views on it?
There is no confusion. If you understand it in this way, that what the regulator expects from you at the DRHP filing stage is that you are having a system in place which is fully compliant, having all the inbuilt mechanisms, systems, all the features as prescribed under the PIT regulations. Okay, that it cannot be tampered, it can ensure an audit trail, there is a time stamping feature. This is the requirement at the DRHP filing stage. And you have yourself only mentioned so correctly that until your shares are listed and the transactions start happening, how can there be an UPSI and an entry? So the entries would start only at a later stage, but at least your system should be in place. And Hemant, please add here.
See, Paresh, question is not, what entry you will make and why it is required and all. It is rule of law. You'll have to make whether it is fact or it is like to tell you it's like going to a gym. You may not like it. You may not like going to gym every day or something. But if you're going and at end you'll feel that good. I went to gym, and that is the way it is going to happen with SDD also. You may not like why should I make entry and all, but once regulator comes and you have made that entry, you'll be happy. Yes, I made the entry and I'm happy. So please take a conservative view when it comes to regulators.
Yes, sir. There is not an issue in entry. The issue is that which information we should share that the UPSI, because at the DRHP stage, multiple information
No.
are
1 minute,
getting
1
shared.
minute. Yeah, Paresh, I understood what you're saying. You see, at the time of going for the listing, they are interested. You have a system put in place of SDD, so that any time tomorrow when you go to the listing, something has happened, you are ready to enter it on the very first day itself. It is not after listing you start setting up the things, etc. Not because the requirement is the immediate and the 2 days time and other things are your preparedness is actually expected. That is, certification is actually required to be given at the time of the DRHP filing only. You are actually ready to comply with the STD. That is the requirement here actually. Because there is no sharing happens at that particular time. Sharing happens much later, as Mridul puts it very clearly. But only thing is, you are actually ready to take care of the things tomorrow the company goes into the listing. That is the whole idea.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? I don't see any other hands are risen. I think we can close the session. Is already 1:15. Let me tell you one thing. This is a very, very interesting session. There are a lot of things which also I happen to know from the practical point of view. Yeah, there is one more hand is risen, I think. Amit. Yes, Amit. Amit Shorashia. Yes, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yeah. Very much.
Sir, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity. I have a small question. regarding when the trading window period is closed, typically after every quarter, for the financial results. We make an so whenever the financial results are issued to the internal directors and all that for pre-board discussion, a notice from the SGT is issued that you are in possession of UPSI financial results or other UPSI. But normally what happens till the time the agenda of the board meetings are finalized, many more uh, actions come like appointment of a KMP, some acquisitions. But normally, many corporates, they do their entry at the time of closure of the trading window only of the financial results and other UPSI. Generally, it is written financial results and other UPSI. But suppose like there is an appointment of KMP comes up, all of a sudden an item comes, or acquisition of shares. Do we have to make all the entries of UPSI, or generally like financial results and other UPSI, if entries made, is it sufficient? Because it is all happening during the period when the trading window period is closed for the designated person. It's a very practical issue. I tell you, in many corporates this happens.
You will have to, see, the correct way to do is, you'll have to make entries for each of the items, because all are different items. So financial results, when you shared, you made the entry. Now
Correct.
again, you're uploading some agenda, which may be an additional item, I believe, because it's not part of the agenda. If you are uploading an agenda for, say, appointment of MD or another KMP, or resignation of change in KMP, or any other item of merger,
Correct.
or say dividend, a special dividend, and all. So any entry that you're sharing with the directors or any other person, you will have to make an entry. For example, there is a special dividend which is now going to get proposed. So if you got to know from whom you got to know, so CFO told you, so CFO told the CS, so CFO will require to make an entry. How CFO got to know? MD told that we should have a special dividend proposed. So that is a time of germination of that event. From that point of time, you'll have to make that entry, and it will have to be done. That is a proper flow. Now you may, or many other companies may think that it is under the same closure window.
Correct.
Where this has been done, whether I should do or not. If you don't do, you'll not be able to explain regulator. If you are able to explain regulator, it's fine. But I don't think you will be able to do that. So it's better take a conservative view, make an entry for each and every event, and ensure that you are complying it, because
Okay.
ultimately it is compliance.
Yeah, and one small query, follow-up query with Mridul. This is regarding one question which she replied on the acquisition of 24% equity shares under a SPV under the state. She rightly said there is a state electricity laws where we have to make an acquisition. So, these amounts are sometimes very small and it doesn't affect any way materially the price of the shares. So I understand the entry of this kind of acquisitions are not required. Hope I am correct.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. And if you recall, I also mentioned the same, that if these two conditions are met, one, that it is not yet published or publicly available, and secondly, that it is affecting the price of your securities materially. If not, as you just said, so then no need, then it does not trigger SGT entry at all.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Amit, one more thing, when this kind of question comes, the best way is to make a file note. Why you didn't make the entry, or what is the logic? You enter that thing, you document that thing, and you save it. So if someone comes, regulator or anyone comes, or your auditors or anyone comes and asks, why the entry was not made, you can always say that, this is the reason why we couldn't make, and this is the conscious call that we had taken that time.
Okay, thank you.
Amit, one thing is
Yes.
there, as Mridul puts it very clearly. A, question is whether it is material. Question B, whether it is going to impact anything in the capital market. If these two tests are actually positive, then you know to make an entry. If these two tests are not positive, then as our Hemant said, please make a file note for your information. Keep it with you. Tomorrow, if somebody inquire, you will be able to justify it. That is the whole idea. Yeah.
Thank you, Bala. Thank you very much.
I think we can close the session with this. I must actually tell you, it is really, really very, knowledge sharing session, really knowledge adding session, with Hemant and Mridul putting their practical point of views and giving the things very sharing is very, very useful. I am personally really grateful to know many things because I am a 1956 old timer. Because we are all, the process of unlearning and relearning processes. But now in my time, SDT was not there. We are actually on the physical mode. SDT came much later. Theoretically only I know. Now a lot of practical things I am actually coming to know. I am personally very much thankful to both of you for sharing your excellent knowledge. I am equally sure that our participants would have really got, because the number of participation, number of people, number of questions which are asked, that it shows what is the knowledge sharing session is. Thank you very much personally to Hemant and also Mridul for your excellent sharing. And at the same time, thank you to our presenter who is with a pleasing personality and a smiling face and very nicely elaborated, covered everything A to Z. Very good presentation you have made. Thanks a lot to you. Have a good day. We close the session with this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mridul. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much, Hemant. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you,
Thank you.
Bhola,
And
sir.
thank you,
Thank you.
Shelly.